From the light given me in regard to the location and building up of our school interests, I know that it is the purpose of God that these institutions should be established at a distance from the city.
On July the 7th, 1895, Ellen White arrived in Cooranbong, the town where she would have a lasting legacy. However, on this crisp morning, she was greeted by swathes of uncleared bushland and dirt tracks. It was far from the bustling centre of ministry Ellen had seen in her vision. Nevertheless, Ellen was determined to see it succeed, determined to manifest her interest in the school enterprise and her confidence in the Avondale estate. She selected 40 acres and purchased the land, making Cooranbong her home. Within a few weeks, a portion of her family were living in tents on the land, which she called Sunnyside. These tents were erected on the property with temporary kitchens and living quarters within. The beds they had to sleep in were just thin mats, and the thick wax cloth of the tents let off a terrible stench in the heat. Nevertheless to say, the living conditions were barely tolerable, and for a 68-year-old woman, this wouldn't have been a very easy lifestyle.
The building of their home was a high priority, and to do the job, the family hired an Adventist builder they had met in Tasmania, J.G. Shannon, who took on the project for only 2 shillings a day, which today would equate to around $5 a day. While the home was built, Ellen focused her attention on 2 projects: travelling to various camp meetings and establishing the Sunnyside orchard. Though the house was not yet finished, Ellen insisted on beginning her orchard, claiming that it shouldn't wait another year. There'd been doubts about whether she could grow anything at all in this climate. With help from an orchardist, Mr. Mosley, Ellen planted several kinds of trees brought from Sydney using a unique planting method still recognised today. The plants thrived in the hot Australian climate, and soon the orchard was brimming with her signature fruits: mandarins, oranges and passion fruit. Her orchard was open to all, and she allowed all workers and travellers to take freely from the fruit that was grown. Sister White was the very soul of hospitality. Visitors were always welcome, and no one left her home hungry. Not even a professional tramp, of which Australia had a large number in those days. In December 1895, the house was finally ready for the family to move in. On Christmas Day, the cheapest day for train fares, they travelled to Cooranbong and entered their home for the first time. Eager to begin writing the Desire of Ages and assist in establishing the local school, Ellen White completed the house with far fewer rooms than wished. However, issues with pests convinced her to plaster the home and expand it to provide a home for her workers, relatives, and a constant flow of guests.
From the moment Sunnyside was complete, there were guests clamouring to visit, which left the family little time to settle in. This also meant that chores were in plentiful supply. Sunnyside was a hive of activity, and the work required to maintain it was immense.
Water had to be drawn from the well to supply the home. The orchard had to be maintained. All clothes and dishes were washed by hand. Inside, the floors had to be swept and mopped, the rooms cobwebbed, dusted and aired. Even the mattress had to be laid flat again each day. Add to that the care for the animals, and you can begin to understand the immense effort it was for the family to care for their own property on top of all the cares they did for the community.
The story of Sunnyside's establishment is one of resilience and courage. For an elderly woman to buy land that required so much work and commit herself to growing and maintaining produce others said would die in days tells us a lot about Ellen's character. A bush-covered lot was cleared, cultivated and nurtured through delays, deluges and trials into a place of continued blessing for generations to come.